What's up, guys? DK here with Collector's Impact, and today I just wanted to touch on something that it's a bit of old news at this point in regards to the internet, as it is a few days old, I guess even a week old at this point. But with Target now officially not carrying sports cards and Pokemon, and I believe even Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh! I think they're canceling like all cards, but I know for sure sports cards and Pokemon cards. I just wanted to give my 2 cents on that particular topic, as it is certainly still a very hot topic in the space right now, and I have a lot of thoughts about it, so I want to share them with you today. So the first thing that I'll say is, right out of the gate, this just feels like yet another cut in the Death of 1,000 type of little cuts scenario that we're going through in the card market at the moment, if you know what I mean. It's first with PSA completely shutting their doors. Well, actually, first with PSA raising prices, then everyone else raising prices for grading services, then PSA shutting their doors, everyone going crazy with their prices. That was a pretty big hindrance in terms of the bull run, I guess you could say, in the card market. So with all of those little hindrances, it caused quite a bit of a damper in the mood, if you will, for the market. So, and it was pretty noticeable. And now that SGC has lowered their prices back down to a relatively reasonable rate, maybe helping things a little bit. And then Target went ahead and pulled their move of just stopping the carrying and distribution and sale of card products. So that's a huge that's a huge blow, in addition to having PSA shut down and all that other stuff. I mean, and then there's also rumors that Walmart might do the same. So there was some sort of like shady note that was left to a distribution client of Walmart that stocks the shelf for cards, but it was, as far as I'm aware, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, but it was only in like one store, I think, if not maybe just a few other ones, but only one that I'm aware of, and it was kind of not the same situation as Target. So Target's situation, for anyone who doesn't know, there was like a shady incident where somebody was essentially stalked in the store. They found out, there was like they had some people surveilling them in the store, some shady characters, and then when they got outside of the store with their purchase, they were essentially mugged in the parking lot, or at least an attempted mugging, and then somebody had a concealed carry piece, and that got involved. It was never used or anything like that, but it got involved. So Target and their PR department just went ahead and decided to do the standard practice of modern times, I guess, and just cancel all the fun because somebody did something bad. So that's very hard in a world of 7.5 billion people, that when one person does something bad, you got to cancel everything. But I guess that's the world we live in. So anyway, enough of that rambling and ranting. But when it comes to the impact of the Target situation and them not carrying cards anymore, I do think that we are going to see a bit of an interesting time, probably a decrease in demand for the product. As, let's be real, there's a lot of people who were involved in the sports cards and Pokemon card craze, treating it as an investment / a flipping game, which is totally fine. I have nothing against that. I mean, if it works, it works, But as they keep adding barriers to entry, as they would say in the business world, there's more and more barriers to entry. Therefore, there are going to be less and less players who want to actually get involved in that sort of a game. The ease of acquiring product at a reasonable cost, which is key. Target made sure to only charge MSRP for the items, as they're such a large chain. They don't rely on the card market for their sustainability, unlike, say, a local game store, a local card store, which obviously I have nothing against local card stores, as I used to manage one for 10 years. So I understand that situation and that market very well, and they have to do what they have to do with their prices in order to stay competitive and to keep up with the distributors' rise in cost and all that kind of stuff. The stores have to deal with the distributors and really have to maintain their margins any way that they can, because they're always stores, individual like game stores are always getting the rug pulled out from underneath them, to be honest. When there's a hot market, when things are really popular, the distributors, sometimes at least, the distributors can start, passing that on to the stores in the form of higher costs for the product. So the stores have to charge a higher product to cover their overhead, I mean, they have to charge more for the product to cover their overhead. So Walmart and Target, those types of big chain block stores, whatever you want to call them, those types of establishments don't rely on the cards for their business. Hence, they can just cut that entire wing of the business and it doesn't even hardly affect them. They'll be able to rent that space out to another product, no problem. They could like fill it with elf makeup for all they care. It doesn't matter to them. But in terms of the card market, it could have a pretty big impact. And I only say this really in combination with what's going on in the grading market, because you had people who were interested in buying large volume of cards and then turning around and grading it in a reasonable and costly manner, and then turning around and selling the graded cards. And with the market cooling off like it has been and all of these hindrances, it's a bad recipe. So temporarily, I don't foresee it being super sunny and bright for the industry temporarily. Now, when PSA opens their doors back, that's going to be an interesting one. So that's either going to turn the market in a downward position if people don't react well to it, or it could completely revitalize everything and get the hype train going again. People could not care so much about shopping for physical cards in the Target, or shopping physically rather in Target. They could just go to doing it online, or of course going to their local game store and supporting their local game store. And still, even with the higher price, if that's even an issue, if the game stores are charging a slightly higher price, if the demand is good enough, then the margins work themselves out for the individual who is flipping cards anyway. It's not that big of a deal when the demand is good. So the real fear here is that the demand will go down significantly. That will drive the prices down on the market as a whole, and then of course decrease the number of people buying, and so on and so forth, and it could spiral down from there. And with that said, it's also well known at this point that Nintendo and the Pokemon Company there have been ramping up production of Pokemon cards in order to deal with the situation where they weren't able to fulfill demand for the product for so long here in 2020 and the beginning of 2021. And at this point, almost halfway through 2021, I feel like we're crossing that hill, and Target may have just pushed the wagon down. You know what I mean? They might have just pushed the wagon over the crest. We could start going down, unless Target does something to maybe correct their rather rash decision and help the market out. I mean, one thing that they could do that would be an easy solution to this is to just, put the cards behind glass. Treat them like they're cigarettes. Adults have to have to show ID and get their cigarettes and stuff from behind a glass counter. So, not that they're the same thing, obviously, but if adults can't behave, instead of, punishing the entire world, especially the little kids that want to play like a card game like Pokemon. I mean, Pokemon is such a fun thing for little kids. It was a big part of my childhood, and I certainly want as many kids out there to have the opportunity to play Pokemon and collect the cards that is possible. That's kind of the end goal of this, is to get the cards in as many people's hands as possible, to get as many fans of the cards, and baseball cards, basketball cards, football, sports. There are young people that need to experience the trading card world, and limiting their access to the cards, all because of a random event of shadiness, which the world's not really in the best state, you guys, at this moment. So some shadiness is bound to happen. My 2 cents is the corporations need to just not overreact. Think this through logically. Come up with a better solution. I'm sure that they can find one. Put them behind glass. Do something. Make it to where there's a better system for getting these cards, but you don't have to punish everyone, especially your loyal customers and people who collect these cards and buy them from these big box retailers. So, yeah, very long-winded and interesting little ramble there. I hope that you guys enjoyed that, but yeah, that's kind of where I am with it at this point. I think that overall it is a negative in terms of the market. It could be good for local game stores in the short run. If demand maintains, then people will be forced essentially to go to local game stores or to buy online. And if they're forced to buy online, let's say that Target opens up online, and only for dealing with these cards, and they have like a a system on there. Hopefully they'll do something to combat bots, because if they don't, then the bots will absolutely say all your packs belong to us. So that would just create more of a problem. At the end of the day, what we all as collectors should want, collectors, investors, everything, but mostly people who admire the cards and like the hobby of collecting and trading cards should really want the cards to be in as many people's hands as possible. So that's my 2 cents on it, and feel free to disagree, feel free to agree, whatever it is. I just thank you very much for coming by and checking out this video and for hearing what I have to say. So if you like this type of content, and if you want to see more stuff on Pokemon, Magic, comic cards, all of those collectible categories and more, feel free to subscribe to the Collector's Impact. And together, as collectors, we will make an impact out there in this world of craziness, collecting, and flipping fiascos. So, again, thank you very much for coming by, and I hope to see you next time. Take care.